We're going to do an autopsy. Howdy and welcome back. I am Mike, your board gaming every dude, and this is Body of Evidence, Best Served Cold. This was sent to me from the publisher, Mysterious Package Company. This is not a paid review, so we are going to review. Excuse me, I still have a cold. Just coughing in your face. I'm so rude. This is a cooperative detective game where you're trying to solve a mystery both by reading transcripts and files from the suspects and the witnesses at the location of a murder, as well as examining the body. I will warn you, it actually doesn't get gruesome. It really doesn't. It's tastefully done, but you are laying out a body and you are cutting and looking into the brain and you're looking into the different organs and things like that. If that's not your thing, um, don't. I'm not gonna spoil much. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I am gonna show you what the components look like. You see it pretty early in the game. All of this will be sealed, so if you don't want to see anything at all, then don't watch this. But please watch this. Hang out with me. Have fun. All right. So what's the story? Story takes place in a restaurant where a very famous chef is murdered. He's found dead in a freezer. You find this out right away. He's found dead in a freezer. So then you, as this young detective investigator, are assigned with finding out what happened. It's thought that it's just an accidental death, but maybe there was something more. You are given a file by your chief detective officer lady. She's very nice, very helpful, very firm, a little scary, and she does grade you at the end of the game with how well you did. She gives you a file, and in that file are photographs as well as witness statements. You start looking through those, and then you are asked a question by that detective. You have to answer that question before she gives you the next file. There are a total of 3 files with different evidence. How do you answer the question? Well, you're given 2 sets of cards for each one of these files. I think it's like 5 cards and 5 cards, or 8 and 8, something like that. Within those are your answers. You pick which one you think is the answer. So let's say the first one is determine the description of the suspect and the manner in which the victim died. So maybe the description of the suspect is a height and weight, and you're given 10 different cards with different heights and weights. So you pick a height card and a weight card. Or maybe it's how did the victim die, and you pick between whatever the descriptions are, like there was poison to the stomach or a blunt trauma to the head. You pick the card, you put it out, and then you check to see whether or not you were correct, and then you can advance to file 2. So on and so on. You keep going until you get to the very end of the game, and at the end of the game, you are asked a series of questions, a whole sheet of questions, including little subplots and things like that, where you're trying to get all the answers correct. You do that by writing it out in this case, because you've laid out all your cards. So finally, you're deciding, how did they die? Who killed them? Why did they kill them? What were some of these other supporting, suspects? How were they involved or not involved? Who is clear? That kind of thing. You answer all those and see how well you did at the end. Get the final answer if you got it correct. I played this with 2 others, 2 very good friends, and I have to say I was worried to play it with them because it was my friend and her mother, and I didn't know. I was like, I hope it doesn't get gory. I hope the language stays clean. But also for myself, that's just my preference. But again, you open the game, you don't know what to expect. So I was like, we can stop anytime. And I was very pleased that the language all stayed clean. And even though you are autopsying a body and you are dealing with a murder, and they give you what you need to know enough, they don't take it overboard. So I really appreciated that. All right, let's go overhead. Ah! Again, I don't want to show you too much, but I'm going to show you like one thing, so don't read too close. These are some of the things you get. You get photographs of suspects as well as sheets describing them and statements. I really don't. These are all sealed in files, so you're not going to see all this ahead of time. You're going to have. I'm not going to flip it over. Pieces of photos that you collect at different times. You're going to try and piece them together because you like picked them out of the trash or something like that. What is this? You'll see this pretty early, but you'll have like a crime photo. I'm not going to show you too much. I'm not going to show you too much. Then you have things like witness statements, full-on witness transcripts. This is upside down. What am I doing to you? Full-on witness transcripts that you get to look at. I don't want to show you too much. You got newspaper articles, flash articles of all this stuff, letters and cards. You kind of get the point. You've got artifacts, okay? And this is your instruction booklet, which I greatly appreciated. Was very quick and easy. You just open it up. It's an autopsy. I mean, you read this and you start the game. It's upside down! Oh my goodness. You read this, you start the game. So that takes us to, though, the big thing, because I'm not going to show you any more. You get the idea. These are the evidence cards where you pick between, so say you're in file 1, and you have to decide the person, how did they die? Well, it was a falling impact, so you'd put this here. And how do you know if you got it right? Well, you flip it over, and you had to pick 2 cards, right? So let's say it was a falling impact, and they were, this is not at all how you do this, and they were 5-1 to 5-6. You'd put them together, and if the threads line up, then you got it correct. If they don't, you got it wrong. Oh my goodness. Try again. Try again. And that's how you know. And then after each file, so you have 6 of these, and they will all connect, and they'll tell you, okay, they died this way. That's what the assailant looked like, blah, blah, blah. Or there was no assailant, actually, and it was an accidental death, or it was a suicide, or something like that. All the threads will connect by the end if you got it correct. And then you answer all the sub-questions. Hope I explained that. Autopsy actually comes in a body bag. I'm not going to show you the whole body, but just enough so that you know that you actually unfold this whole thing, and you see this very early as soon as you open the game. So I'm not going to spoil it, but this is what it looks like. I just want you to see it. And then you actually make incisions, as you can see here, and you would lift that up, and you may be asked to examine organs and things like that. So you're actually making incisions in layers, 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, as the game continues, and it walks you through. So your first is like, in file 1, you're just looking at the external part of the body. File 2, you start cutting in. File 3, you really start cutting in. So, know that that's part of it. Review. What did I like about it? Everything. Critique. The only critique I have is there was a point where I had to measure the space of a wound, I believe. I had to measure the space of a wound, and the measurement was so close between like 6 and 7, and the questions being asked were like, was it a 6 or 7? The measurement was so close that it was a little hard for me to determine which one, so I thought that could have been tightened up a little. And there was one description in file 3 where it's asking you to look at certain parts of the organs or parts of the body, and the instructions just weren't crystal clear, so we were probably hung up a good 5 minutes just trying to understand what was being asked. We did figure it out, but I think with clearer instructions on that part, that could have saved that. Other than that, I have no critique. I love this. I will play the next one. Thank you for sending this. If you enjoy detective investigation games, highly recommend this. It is designed by people. It's designed by people that aren't on the box. 1 to 4 players, 2 to 3 hours, difficulty 2 out of 3. And I agree with that. I think we were 3 hours. We played it in one sitting with 3 of us. Solo, you're going to be spending a lot more time because you're going to be reading every file, which is actually a lot of fun. I enjoy that. When you're in a team, though, it's fun because you don't read everything. Each of you takes your file, reads it, and you summarize to each other. Good time. What's coming next? Sleeping Gods Primeval Peril. We're going to be looking at new games at my local game store, Cape Fear Games. We are going to be looking at the next solo board game of the month from Gabe Barrett Publishing. No, it's not called that. It's Best with One Publishing. There's those coughs. I can do it. I love you all. I'll see you next time.
Storms are brewing,